Have you ever tried a trading strategy that just didn't feel right? You followed all the rules, but it just didn't click. Well, what if I told you it probably had nothing to do with the indicators and everything to do with your personality? Today, we're going to dive into this idea that finding the right strategy is a lot like discovering your own trading DNA. It's about matching your methods to your mindset.
So, let me ask you a question. When you look at the market, what do you see? Is it a marathon where endurance is key? Is it a 100-meter dash, all about quick bursts of speed? Or is it more like a single, explosive power lift? We're about to break down 3 key trading archetypes, and I guarantee by the end of this, you'll have a much better idea of which one you are.
All right, first up, let's talk about the marathon runner of the trading world, the patient trend follower. This is the person who's all about endurance. They're not in it for a quick win, they're playing the long game, looking for those big, sustained gains.
The philosophy here is actually pretty simple, but don't let that fool you. It's incredibly powerful. Trend followers find a strong market direction, whether it's up or down, and they just ride that wave for as long as they possibly can. They couldn't care less about the little daily ripples. They're hunting for those massive currents that can go on for weeks, sometimes even months.
But here's the catch, the essential trade-off for this style. A trend follower might actually lose more trades than they win. Yeah, you heard that right. A win rate around 40, maybe 50% is pretty common. The magic, though, is in the reward-to-risk ratio. Just one of their winning trades can be so massive that it pays for all those small losses, and then some. It is truly a game of outliers.
So the upside is huge, massive profit potential, and you're not glued to your screen all day. But, and this is a big but, the mental game is tough. You have to be okay with frequent whipsaws. That's when the market teases you, moves one way, pulls you in, and then bam, it reverses and stops you out. That means you have to accept long stretches where your account might be in the red. Patience isn't just a good idea here, it's everything.
And that brings us to the psychological profile. To be a trend follower, you have to be completely comfortable with being wrong. A lot. As long as you know that when you're right, you're really right. It's all about a crazy amount of discipline. Cutting those small losses without thinking twice, and then having the guts to let your winners run, which, let's be honest, is often the hardest thing to do. Okay, now let's do a complete 180 and meet our second archetype, the precision sprinter. We call this person the active range trader. This trader loves frequent, short bursts of activity inside a very well-defined lane.
The whole strategy here is built on a concept called mean reversion. Think of it like a rubber band. You stretch it out and it wants to snap back to the middle. That's the core idea. Range traders believe that markets spend most of their time just bouncing around between predictable highs and lows. So what do? They sell at the top of the range and buy at the bottom, over and over again.
And look at this. The profile is basically the mirror image of our marathon runner. The win rate here is high, often sitting comfortably between 50 and 70%, which feels really good psychologically. But the payoff for each trade is much smaller, usually around a 1-to-1 risk-reward. This is a game of consistency, just stacking up small, frequent wins.
The beauty of this is that there are tons of opportunities and a steady stream of wins. But what's the danger? Well, it's a big one. The single biggest risk is being on the wrong side when the price breaks out of that range and just keeps on going. One powerful, unexpected trend can completely wipe out dozens of those small victories if you're not super strict with your risk management on every single trade.
So who is this for? This is for the person who thrives on action, someone who gets a psychological boost from winning often, even if the wins are small. They have to be masters of precision and lightning-fast execution. Get in, take your profit, and get out before greed or fear has a chance to mess things up.
And that brings us to our third and final archetype, the power lifter. This is the decisive breakout trader. This trader is all about conserving energy, waiting, and then unleashing absolute maximum force at one critical moment.
Breakout traders are like predators. They watch the market as it gets quiet and coils up like a spring. They're just waiting for the price to explode through a key level, either support or resistance. Their whole goal is to jump on board the instant that shift in supply and demand happens, catching a brand new trend right at its birth.
Now, the breakout trader profile is kind of a hybrid, sitting right between our first two. The win rate is moderate, and so is the reward-to-risk ratio. It's an approach that tries to get the best of both worlds, capturing that intense momentum of a new trend without having to wait for it to be fully established like a trend follower would.
The major plus here is that you get in on the ground floor of a potentially huge move. But the biggest challenge, the thing that drives breakout traders crazy, is the false breakout. This is when the price pokes through a level, sucks you into a trade, only to snap right back and stop you out. It is a high-stress, emotionally draining game.
So mentally, what does this take? Well, you have to be incredibly decisive. There is zero time for hesitation. You need a high tolerance for risk and the mental toughness to just shake off a string of those frustrating little losses from false breakouts, all while waiting for that one clean lift that makes it all worth it.
So there you have it. We've met our 3 archetypes: the patient marathon runner, the active sprinter, and the explosive powerlifter. Now for the most important part. How do you figure out which one of these paths is yours?
Let's put it all side by side. This table really lays out the core differences. Just look at the metrics, look at the profiles. As you scan across, where do you see yourself? Does that low win rate but massive reward of the trend follower call to you? Or maybe it's the high-frequency wins of the range trader, or that balanced, high-octane approach of the breakout trader. This is where you really need to start being honest with yourself.
To make this really practical, it boils down to 3 things you need to consider. First, market conditions. Some markets trend, some are choppy, the environment matters. Second, and this is crucial, you have to be brutally honest about your own psychology. What can you actually handle day in and day out? And third, look at your lifestyle. How much time can you realistically commit? Remember, the best strategy is the one that fits you, not the other way around. At the end of the day, there is no single best strategy out there. There's only the strategy that is best for you. We've laid out the paths of the marathon runner, the sprinter, and the powerlifter. The question is, now that you've met them, who will you become?